Hello, welcome everyone to the third workshop of the long-term sustainability series. Today we're going to be working on the open source Canva. This is a tool that will be summing up the assumptions that we were drafting on the first two workshops, the value proposition and the user persona. It is useful because it will provide us with an overview of the business strategy and allows us to see what we should focus on and what's getting in the way. And it's useful and at any time that we are drafting a business strategy. As you see, it is composed of 9 sections. You might be familiar with this structure from other canvases like the business model Canva or the Lean Canva, but this is adapted to open source projects, and we will go one by one through each of the sections. So the first section is the users. Equally as we were doing in the value proposition, you can bring that information from there. We need to describe who are we targeting. The interesting factor to consider here is also to understand who among these users can be a contributor. So someone that can potentially align with us and contribute to the project. The second point is to define the problem. You can also bring that information from the value proposition. So let's define here what is a problem that we are trying to solve for the users. If you're going to have different problems for different users, you can still use the same Canva, but use different sticky notes or different colors. As long as you are able to differentiate it, it works well. The third section is the solution. So what are we bringing there? How are we solving the problem? And it is important to consider the open source factor here. How is that making it better? What is this differentiating factor of this being an open source project? The fourth section is the unique value proposition. So how do we bring value to the customers uniquely? So the first part, this is probably more connected to the benefits and also the benefits that we were discussing in the value proposition. And also here, it's important to, again, consider the open source factor. Section number 5 is the community relationships. So obviously, as you can imagine, it is really important for you to engage the community to make your product move forward. So how are you going to do that? Who is going to be the main segment that you want to engage? Who are going to be the evangelists, the leaders, the contributors? So this is something that you need to consider carefully, because it's going to have a big impact, as we will see later, in the success of your project. And section number 6 is the channels. So how are you going to reach to the users and also to the communities? This is going to be through events, through direct channels, whatever it is. Then section number 7 is the activities. What are the inbound and outbound activities that you're going to carry out to engage the users with your project? Just list it here and have it all in account. And then the last two sections are probably the ones that are going to define the sustainability of your product itself. So section number 8 is dealing with the costs and resources. So you need to have into consideration everything that you're going to need to run your product, from the development to the launching and the production phases. So everything that you're going to need, being personnel, infrastructure, campaigns, whatever. And then the last section is the adoption criteria and potential revenues. So here we have put together these two ones, as you will see in the example that will follow. You need to be able to measure the success of a project, and probably you're going to do that, or you would like to do that by measuring the community, for example, the usage of your tools or solutions, how many people are contributing. So you need to define certain number of metrics and be able to quantify objectively how successful you are. And additionally, you need to consider as well the potential sources of revenues. So you need to, at the end of the day, you need to take into account who's going to pay for what, and in the long run, you need to maintain your product self-sustained. So without further ado, I would like to go similar way as we did before through an example. In this case, again, following the same example of Arduino. So we have this Canva filled in, and we're going to go through the different sections. So section number 1, the users. So remember, we have the hobbyists, the scientists, the educators, artists, and designers. You need to think of who could be a potential contributor. Maybe in this case, for Arduino, potential contributor would be the scientist, the hobbyist, not fully career, but maybe it's worth considering that. Second, the problem. Again, there are too many different platforms to develop projects. There are no affordable tools. You need to be highly skilled to run this and to develop such solutions. There's low reliability of the built solutions, meaning if you want to produce this in mass scale, then it's not so much reliable. And it also requires a long development time. The solution itself, it's a low-cost platform, open source tool, a platform, and easy development for non-skilled people. The unique value proposition, this is the value proposition that we were drafting in the first workshop. This is a user-friendly and open source electronics prototyping platform for hobbyists, educators, scientists, and makers, among many others, that simplifies the process of working with microcontrollers and creating interactive products, enabling ease of learning, creativity, and rapid prototyping, unlike more complex or less accessible microcontroller systems and single-board computers. Then if we go to the community relationships, here we have indicated that strategic relationship with hobbyist groups, educational institutions, tech influencers, hardware and software contributors, and third-party developers who integrate with or build upon the Arduino platform. This is a crucial relationship what we need to care about. The channels, how are we going to reach out to the users? Online communities, social media, educational partnerships, workshops, makers fairs, conferences, and also direct sales through the Arduino stores and distribution via third-party retailers. Now if we go to the activities, inbound activities, providing extensive documentation, organizing and attending maker events, and maintaining active forums. Outbound, educational outreach, software and hardware development, and community engagement through social media and content creation, blogs, tutorials, etc. And now if we go to the bottom part, the costs and resources. In the case of Arduino, they have the infrastructure cost, web hosting for forums and product distribution, manufacturing of Arduino boards. Human resources, they have the engineers, the community managers, the education program managers, marketing and sales teams. And then the marketing itself, social media advertising, educational content creation, and event and sponsorships, for example. And now the last part, the adoption criteria and potential revenues. We have divided this into two. So now let's have a look at the adoption criteria. This is defining how are we going to measure the success of the project in the long run. We're going to measure the community growth, the size of Arduino's user base, including the number of active members in forums, social media followers, and registered users on the Arduino website. Contributions, frequency and quality of community contributions, which could be in the form of code submissions to the Arduino IDE, libraries, tutorials, and user-created project guides. Educational penetration, the number of educational institutions adopting Arduino for teaching STEM subjects, reflected in both sales to schools, usage in curriculums, and partnerships with educational organizations. Project diversity, a variety of projects in which Arduino is used, indicative of the platform's versatility and its appeals across different sectors like home automation, robotics, and art installations. And finally, brand recognition, the visibility of Arduino in the maker and educational communities, as well as its presence in related media and publications. So this is how Arduino could have been planning on measuring the impact of of their project, and then they have a range of potential revenue streams: hardware sales, Arduino board, kits, and official accessories, certification programs. I'm not going to read over everything. You have it here. Licensed manufacturing. So this is important because our Arduino is open source and you are free to manufacture it, but maybe someone would like to have something that is you're able to manufacture it and license it, but you are obliged to license it in the same way as Arduino is licensed to you. But if you want to do it in a different way, then you can engage in discussions with Arduino, and maybe you are paying a license for manufacturing. Custom solutions, books and educational materials, premium support, workshops and training, sponsored partnerships and collaborations, and merchandise. This seems a little bit off, but it's true that they are getting revenues by selling hoodies and mugs, etc. So this, in a nutshell, gives us a big picture of how we are going forward with our business case, with our project, and it gives us many hints on what do we need to think of to ensure the long-term sustainability. So I hope this was useful. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks. See you next time.